Hello from World University and School on June 8th, 2026 at 10 a.m. Pacific time, which is, I think, 1 p.m. East Coast time of the US and Canada, and I think it's 10:30 p.m. in India. Greetings as World University and School grows in 200 countries and 7,159 living languages. And in this open WUAS news and question and answer World University and School weekly business meeting, loosely conducted in the manner of unprogrammed Quakers, NTF's friends, I'd like to share a little news with you. Just checking to see if people want to join this at this time for this open conversation, question and answer opportunity. Not seeing anyone yet. So I'll begin. Dear World University and School community and networks, Universitians all, greetings. And here are some great new World University and School WUAS developments. Incredibly, it's possible that the WUAS Corporation, our second wing, will be able to do an IPO, initial public offering, having attended an online Stanford Law Rock Center's talk with SEC, Security and Exchange Commission Chairman Paul S. Atkins, and see the Saturday, May 30th, 2026 blog post's second part here in the blog post that begins Chinese Pangolin, AirL Digital, in my blog, scott-mccloud.blogspot.com, and see also agenda item A below in the WUAS Corporation wing. So item B, regarding the WUAS Corporation for-profit wing in the state of California legal entity, our second wing, and you can see the beginning webpage at worlduniversityandSchool.org/academicpress.html. How will WUS be able to develop with Stanford MindPi cryptocurrency? mindpi.com/SGKMAC is where you can get your Stanford MindPi cryptocurrency presently. And as with World University, the WS Corporation as a for-profit general stock company in the state of California, and even possibly with time, list the WUS Corporation on a stock exchange, such as the NASDAQ or the Silicon Valley Long-Term Stock Exchange, or even multi-list the WUS Corporation. And regarding the academic press at WUS in 7,159 living languages with machine and human translation, and the WUS educational services stores in all 200 countries. So could we multi-list the WUS Corporation in all 200 countries or in many of them? Stay tuned. Item B1. And how could the WS Corporation, as our second wing, interoperate effectively with our first wing, with its US federal and state of California tax-exempt World University and School designations as legal entities? And you can see the beginning webpage for World University and School at worlduniversityandschool.org. And C2 also the candid profile for World University and School. As we build out newly in the candid profile, which follows on the guidestar.org profile for World University and School, and where Candid is a premier repository of IRS data on 501c3 and tax-exempt legal entities. Could we add a board, a World University and School board of directors or trustees to our Candid profile soon? And stay tuned in these regards next week regarding some recent communications with boardsource.org affiliated with candid.org. Item B2. How might the hashtag Grow with Google WUAS program for World University in School, WUAS, potentially help with coding these two WUAS wings, especially initially? Item C, in this introductory letter, epistle to about 1,800 world universitians that I send out an invitation to this WUS News and Question and Answer weekly business meeting on Sunday night, the night before. This agenda was posted last Monday, June 1st, 2026. And let me just see if people are seeking to join us. Not at this time. Item C, World University and Schools Open Weekly Business Meeting, News and Question and Answer, meet on Mondays. So next on June 8th, today, and at 9 a.m. Pacific Mexico time, 10 a.m. Pacific time, 11 a.m. Mountain time, 1 p.m. Eastern time, 5 p.m. Greenwich Mean Time. I think it's 6 p.m. Central European Summer Time, Western Europe. 10:30 p.m. India time, 1 a.m. Tuesday, the next day, Hong Kong time. But please check your time converter from any of your 24 time zones to join this open WUAS weekly business meeting with Zoom URL in the open WS weekly business meeting blog posts. Here is, so the agenda for today it begins with the mountain range in China, Hengduan Mountains in Sichuan, Yunnan, China, in both blog posts from dated 6/1/2026. So in both blogs, World University and School.blogspot.com, Hengduan Mountains, Sichuan, China, and scott-mccloud.blogspot.com. I think it's, you'll find them if you look for them. And if you're listening or watching this WUS weekly business meeting, the agenda and news might be helpful to read along with too. So item D, World University and School is growing daily, and blog post by blog post too, and waiting, I think, for accreditation opportunities to further develop, and in WUAS seeking to deploy with the full US federal toolkit as well. Item E, and WUS is waiting for money from grants.gov initially, and how to grow a flourishing, engaged, and engaging research community online. MIT and Harvard's How to Grow Almost Anything Synthetic Biology course online is a model. And in the blog label HTGAA in both blogs, you can see more about that. I was a global listener in this course in the spring of 2025. And how best to grow an engaged and engaging WUS wiki teaching and wiki learning community with wiki teachers and wiki learners teaching and learning in any of these subjects on the subjects wiki subject page that is currently in English, or beginning new ones, new wiki subject pages, wiki schools, first in English, but also in your language. So following the English, we seek to build out this wiki subjects page in all 200 countries and in their main languages, and then potentially in all 7,159 living languages for speakers in these languages. And again, with wiki subjects, one can create, for example, about what one loves to do, teach, or learn about, or has expertise in. and both online with a 2D, 3D computer screen, a laptop or a desktop computer, and in our homes, in a developing realistic virtual earth, for example, in digital glasses and similar hardware, and especially in a WUS multimedia room or multimedia rooms in our homes, in which we can create potentially on our own by bringing in a variety of, say, smart TV computer screens, large, and paneling our rooms with them, or eventually be able to purchase as well. So a WUS hospital multimedia room, for example, and regarding the WUS Academic Medical Center. And also out of 670 Ridgecrest Road, Canyon, California, 94516, potentially too. And see how to view Google Street View in a smart meeting room, video on YouTube in these regards. All the best, abolitionally, a best Steam Creative Commons licensed open courseware, wiki, World University and School, hashtag WUS abolition movement continues to grow to protect people. Read more about this in the blog posts in both blogs, beginning Eagle, Aquila, World University and School, World University and School.blogspot.com and scott-mccloud.blogspot.com from October of 2025. And in WUS, seeking to code for all 7.9 billion people on the planet to facilitate wiki, free, universal education, and potentially to end poverty worldwide also. Yogically, 8 Limbs of Yoga, Friendly, NTF, NTQ, Quaker, and Unitarian Universalist Church. Greetings, kind regards, Scott. I'm the founder, president, CEO, professor, presiding, and recording clerk, loosely in the manner of unprogrammed NTF Friends Quakers. And the recording will be posted to our current main YouTube channel, youtube.com/at Scott McCloud World University /videos. So further, on the World University and School wing, the first of 2 WUS wings, a 501c3 or similar nonprofit, see the candid profile for this, building on CC licensed best STEM open courseware, and which is wiki. worlduniversityandschool.org is its website, and see both legal entities' tax IDs at the bottom here. Agenda item 0. The minutes are posted as video recording for the previous week last week on June 1st, 2026, using the agenda and news from May 25th, 2026. Check them out. In it, I think I address Stanford Rock Center welcome SEC Chairman Atkins and special guests, and with also a letter to SEC Chairman Paul Atkins and US Senator and former Harvard Law Professor Elizabeth Warren and others. Further, agenda item 1. Thanks very much to Devika Narayan, an assistant professor at the University of Bristol in Southwest England, and who gave a paper at Sciences Po on the 29th of May, Friday, titled Digital Materialities, or it was about digital materialities in a seminar series titled Between the Cloud and a Hard Place, a thesis on technological transformation. And as I emailed friends, Sid Pin Mazumdar at Smythe MD, Byron Hahn, MD, PhD, and family, Jane McLeod, I received this announcement and was fascinated also to learn that Devika is from India, regarding a kind of potential approach possibly to developing not only World University and School in England, where she's an assistant professor, but also potentially in India, and possibly also in France, where she gave this paper at a Sciences Po in a Sciences Po seminar series. Further, agenda item 1A was fascinated to explore further Devika Narayan's thesis and potentially with Gemini AI and regarding some of her focuses on cloud computing capitalism, and where I had some questions regarding cloud computing capitalism, which is, I think, shaping her arguments for digital transformation, and resistance regarding Manuel Castells' research as well on the rise of the network society and the information age. And in some of these regards, seeking to explore whether even World University and School could develop our own clouds in England, in France, in India, and potentially where cloud computing capitalism here refers to an economic system where a handful of technology conglomerates, for example, principally Microsoft and Google, own and lease the foundational digital infrastructure of the global economy. The model has transformed data and computing power into the dominant form of capital, centralizing enormous wealth and market control. And in what ways could World University and School, potentially even as an expression of resistance or openings for people on the ground and possibly Indians, and with our universities planning, for example, in India, all 20 developing world-class universities in all 22 countries there, as well as our WUS educational services stores, bookstores, computer stores, robotics stores, with a realistic virtual earth for STEM, science, technology, engineering, mathematics, and also potentially retail, form our own clouds, which would then open opportunities wiki-wise, wiki learning and wiki teaching wise, for individuals. And as World University and School seeks to code for not only languages in main languages, official languages in all 200 countries and speakers of those, but also for speakers of all 7,159 known living languages. So regarding resistance to potentially cloud computing, cloud computing acts as the technological infrastructure of modern digital capitalism, in one view, enabling global corporations to monopolize data and network flows. Through the lens of Manuel Castells' network society, this dynamic sparks constant friction as localized resistance movements use these very same digital networks to build counterpower and alternative economic models. Castells' framework, from networks to the cloud, includes the space of flows. Castells argues that global capitalism is organized around the space of flows, the rapid, invisible, and borderless movement of information, capital, and technology. Cloud computing represents the ultimate realization of this, centralizing computer power and data into the hands of mega corporations. Further, how could World University and School even offer to all 7.9 billion individuals on the planet their own cloud opportunities, possibly on their own computers, with newly being able to develop a large language model AI software with, for example, a Google program for this on our home laptops, computers. So glad to have attended this between the cloud and a hard place on digital transformations talk by Devika Narayan. Further, I'm glad that we are potentially in conversation and regarding my upcoming book, Society, Information Technology, and the Global University, potentially to be published by the WUS Press, and regarding how society and information technology work. Also, it's interesting in the context of the US, and I'm not sure how developed, for example, England and France and India are with regard to how our US federal government counteracts the dominance of private cloud computing and levels the digital playing field through antitrust legislation, for example, targeted public procurement policies, open source mandates, and strict compliance standards. The US government balances the cloud computing ecosystem and ensures equitable competition through several key mechanisms. One, antitrust and market competition legislation, restricting monopolies. So federal entities actively monitor and combat market concentration to prevent major cloud service providers, CSPs, from monopolizing government contracts and stifling smaller competitors. Legislative action. Lawmakers have introduced frameworks like the Protecting AI and Cloud Competition in Defense Act to reduce over-reliance on a few dominant tech companies and promote a fairer bidding ecosystem. Secondly, strategic public procurement and contract vehicles, standardizing acquisitions, for example, and multi-cloud strategies also, for example. So agencies in the US deploy multi-cloud and hybrid environments so that they are not locked in to proprietary technology, companies that is, spreading workloads across multiple public and private CSPs. And thirdly, regulatory frameworks and standardization. For example, the FedRAMP implementation, the Federal Risk and Authorization Management Program, FedRAMP, standardizes security and risk assessments for cloud products and services across the federal government. While this ensures high cybersecurity standards, it also establishes clear leveled requirements that all private cloud vectors must meet to compete for government dollars. And also, fourthly, open source and democratized compute infrastructure, open source mandates. The government promotes the development and utilization of open source cloud architectures by relying on and contributing to open source software. Agencies reduce their dependence on vendor-specific walled gardens and restrictive software licensing practices, and also public compute initiatives. Programs like the National Science Foundation's Cloud Bank level the playing field for granting academic institutions and smaller developers subsidized access to advanced cloud resources. And fifth, regarding research, development, and infrastructure subsidies, advancing US leadership. Government policies such as recent executive orders focused on AI infrastructure fund the construction and development of next generation data centers This socializes the massive risk of building foundational infrastructure, which in turn fosters a highly resilient, competitive digital ecosystem for both public and private entities. And I think World University and School, in developing further in this US ecosystem, and potentially also with India World University and School, and England World University and School, and France World University and School, will help potentially these countries as they both develop their own ecosystems with their own federal legislations, but also potentially with matriculated students using much of the ecosystem in this US informed cloud computing infrastructure. And the way Manuel Castells further would characterize or analyze this dynamic, and I come into conversation with Castells in my upcoming book, Society, Information Technology, and the Global University. First, the space of flows, overcoming the space of places. Castells argues that power and wealth in the information age are organized through a space of flows, the near instantaneous transmission of information, capital, and data across global networks. The monopolistic practices. Historically, big tech controlled this space by owning the physical infrastructure, server farms, fiber optic cables, centralized computing clusters. The AI challenge. The acceleration of cloud computing means that digital infrastructure is becoming virtualized and decentralized. By utilizing on-demand edge computing and distributed processing, independent innovators can route around big tech's centralized server chokeholds, creating alternative nodes of knowledge production. And secondly, the restructuring of capital in innovation nodes. Castells highlights how capital is highly centralized in the hands of global networks, allowing massive incumbent firms to acquire disruptive startups before they become competitive threats. First, the monopolistic practices, dominant cloud providers, for example, Google Cloud, Amazon Web Services, Microsoft Azure, offer computing credits and platform access to AI startups, functioning as a form of soft vertical integration, where the giants control both the storefront and the underlying computational plumbing. The AI challenge. Because open source foundation models, such as Meta's Llama and the open models hosted on Hugging Face, are becoming increasingly accessible, AI development no longer requires massive capital outlays to train models from scratch. This allows a decentralized, collaborative, variable geometry of developers to innovate without being absorbed by tech behemoths. Thirdly, the power of identity and alternative networks. Castells posits that resistance in the network society arises when groups develop counter networks and reclaim autonomy based on localized or specific values, what he calls the power of identity. Castells, the challenge, Castells would point to the open source AI community and decentralized computing networks as a form of socio-technical resistance. Instead of depending on closed proprietary algorithms, communities of developers, academics, and civic organizations can collaborate to build open AI ecosystems tailored to local needs or public interests. By pooling consumer and developer resources into peer-to-peer or decentralized networks, they erode the dependency on big tech gatekeepers. Read more about this in the blog post beginning Chinese Pangolin in my blog, scott-mccloud.blogspot.com from May of 2026. Agenda item 2. So regarding genetic developments and potentially with implications for both aging reversal and extreme longevity, a chick hatched from an artificial egg posted on George Church's Twitter X feed. Further, how best to hatch with hashtag model organism, hashtag chicken, hashtag avatar agent EHR, electronic health record, hashtag veterinary EHR, in hashtag Google Street View for hashtag phenotype cells molecules in one hashtag realistic virtual earth and a hashtag realistic virtual earth for genetics at World University and School for hashtag WUAS longevity genetics. This retweets George Church's tweeting of a Rolling Stone article with a picture of a chick hatched from an artificial egg. So I created a set of Twitter posts in these regards. In a hashtag realistic virtual earth for genetics, in hashtag Google Street View with hashtag time slider, Ray, hashtag TensorFlow AI at hashtag cell and hashtag molecule levels, especially even for hashtag humanoid robotics, and think a hashtag physical digital, hashtag Google's Pegman, scaled even with hashtag Lego robotics in hashtag Street View, how to code in hashtag molecular biology and hashtag enzymology. And this retweets with almost 50 years of experience in molecular biology and enzymology at any biolabs. They have the expertise to support some of these developments and disease approaches. You can see the blog post in these regards, beginning guppy fish, Poecile reticulata in my blog from a few years ago, June of 2022. And also the blog post recently in these regards, beginning red jungle fowl from May of 2026 in scott-mccloud.blogspot.com. Agenda item 3. Tony Blair, former Prime Minister of England for 10 years, recently posted a very interesting essay on a need for a new agenda in Britain and for the Labour Party, but also for all of Britain, I think, and observed many things, but that there are two epochal changes happening, one geopolitical and the other technological. How can free World University and School help in many of these regards? The need for a new agenda for Britain, the title of his essay, is in the link he posted at institute.global, which is his Global Institute for Global Change. And I created a set of Twitter posts in these regards. Also, hashtag Tony Blair PM. There are two epochal changes happening. One geopolitical, the other technological. How can free at World Unit and SCH help with both? And with 200 hashtag WUAS UNIVS eventually accessible from the nation states wiki subject page at World University and School, and in those all 200 countries' languages as world-class universities. And regarding a hashtag realistic virtual earth and hashtag Tulify AI WUAS. Peter Norvig's incredible article about World University and School, revolutionizing education with machine learning and AI, World University in School, updated March 2nd, 2024. And in World University and School, Coding for All, 7.9 billion people on the planet. And this retweets Tony Blair's great article, Tony Blair Institute for Global Change at Institute GC on Twitter X, the need for a new agenda for Britain. Read more about this further in the blog post beginning Red Jungle Fowl in my blog, scott-mccloud.blogspot.com from May of 2026. Agenda item 4. With Google's quantum computer in Santa Barbara, California, at the University of California, Santa Barbara, and with World University and School seeking to develop a realistic virtual Earth for quantum, what's a hashtag digital qubit? So I asked this of Google AI mode and created a set of Twitter posts about this. What's a hashtag digital qubit? New definition, a constellation of pixels regarding qubits, particles, phases, and in multiple states, e.g. both 0 and 1 simultaneously, aligning with quantum image representation, hashtag quantum image representation, hashtag QPIXL relating to quantum image representation, and hashtag continuous variable qubits, hashtag CVQ, and regarding a realistic virtual Earth for qubits, hashtag RVE for qubits, all on hashtags on Twitter X and sometimes LinkedIn. This set of tweets retweeted with hashtag G Street View, with hashtag G Time Slider, and hashtag Qubit View, and adding these two images to it in a hashtag realistic virtual Earth for aging reversal. And for example, her picture of a woman, younger and older, which I retweet here, and her hashtag avatar agent EHR interoperating with hashtag G quantum computer, hashtag replica, REPLIQA, for hashtag life sciences, and read the Google blog post about the quantum computing replica, quantum computing life sciences developments with the UC Santa Barbara Google quantum computer. How to slide age back, forward and back with hashtag digital qubits. So this retweets a picture George Church posted with, again, a woman, younger and older. Could we slide between these two ages of this woman in her avatar agent electronic health records at the qubit level, but also at the cell level and the molecule view level? It's the Google quantum computer in Santa Barbara, California at UC Santa Barbara that offers an opportunity in aging reversal and extreme longevity genetics, and in a realistic virtual Earth, in Google Street View Time Slider, that is completely new relative to, I think, many of the other researchers in extreme longevity and aging reversal. Read further about this in the blog post beginning Red Jungle Fowl in my blog, scott-mccloud.blogspot.com, from May of 2026. And this also on LinkedIn, I repost Kent Walker's article or post about the Google quantum computer and replica, and which was also tweeted, which also Kent Walker, the Senior Global Affairs Counsel at Google, posted on Twitter too. He says the dialogues stage at #Google I/O featured a great lineup of Google leaders, scientists, and creative folks shaping the future. If you're interested in the intersection of quantum computing and AI, check out the conversation between Google's James Manyika and Hartmut Nevin with the Kent Walker's Twitter X posts. Further, another set of Twitter posts in these regards, quantum computing, Google quantum computer regards, with #WorldUniv and SCH, sorry, at WorldUniv and SCH, the Twitter X feed for World University and School, in a #GrowWithGoogleWUS program, and regarding #Google Quantum Computer, and at the #GQubit, #GMolecule levels, regarding #Quantum Science and #Life Sciences AI, and see the blog post from Google about this. And in developing a #Realistic Virtual Earth, #for Aging Reversal, in G Street View with #G Time Slider, how to interoperate all of these. And in a related way, another set of Twitter posts, exciting with @WorldUniv and SCH in a #GrowWithGoogleWS program, and regarding #Google Quantum Computer, and at the GQubit, Gmolecule levels with WUS Quantum Science and Life Sciences AI, and the blog post from Google about the Google Quantum Computer and replica and Life Sciences, and in developing a realistic virtual Earth for molecules, and a realistic virtual Earth for aging reversal, and in #G Street View with G Time Slider. So Kent Walker asks, what happens when you apply advanced quantum science and AI to life sciences? You could gain a greater understanding of human biology and health at the molecular level. That's the idea behind our new Replica, REPLIQA initiative. Read more about this on the LinkedIn post from Kent Walker. Agenda item 4B, how many quantum computers are there? Between 100 and 200, says Google AI Mode. And regarding also at Kent Walker's May 11th LinkedIn post, and regarding #Replica, how can #WUS Aging Reversal develop with the #G Quantum Computer in a #Realistic Virtual Earth for aging reversal, and #Avatar Agent EHR? So that was a set of Twitter posts as well, and read more about this in the blog post beginning Red Jungle Fowl in my blog, scott-mccloud.blogspot.com, from May of 2026. Agenda item 5. How best in at WorldUniv and SCH, #WUS Genetics Department to develop in a #Realistic Virtual Earth for Aging Reversal, #WUS Bachelor and WUS PhD degree programs with MIT OpenCourseware, ocw.mit.edu, and to become the Harvard, MIT, Oxbridge, Stanford of the web for students in all 200 countries. And I asked this of Google AI mode, and it gives an incredible reply. Check it out. It begins, the Google AI mode reply begins, to build the World University and School WUS genetics and biology departments into the premier online destination for bachelor and PhD degree programs in aging reversal. You can synthesize open access curriculum frameworks like MIT OpenCourseWare with an advanced multi-scale simulation environment, a realistic virtual earth, RVE. By scaling the platform from the microscopic level down to the quantum biological level, and the G cell and the G molecule and the G atom and the G qubit, and partnering with infrastructure like Grow with Google, WUS can democratize Ivy League caliber research for students across all 200 countries. Here is the strategic framework for developing these departments and technical platforms. I'll just read the main points. 1, curriculum architecture, the aging reversal degree pathways, and regarding bachelor science in cellular and molecular biology, and a focus on regenerative medicine and longevity, and a PhD in genetics of aging reversal and quantum biology. 2, the realistic virtual earth, RVE architecture for biology and genetics. To rival a physical Stanford or Oxford lab, the RVE serves as a global collaborative high-fidelity virtual laboratory, integrating a Google Street View style navigation paradigm allows students to zoom from an ecosystem down to a subatomic particle. Further, 3, institutional growth, becoming the Oxbridge of the internet. To achieve global prestige and universal reach, WUS can establish a self-sustaining ecosystem leveraging open source collaboration and strategic corporate scaling pathways, deploying a Grow with Google partnership paradigm, scaling via wiki faculty and open education. Read more about this in the blog post beginning Rowan Mountain Blewit Houstonia Purpurea in my blog, scott-mccloud.blogspot.com. Agenda item 6. In what ways could World University and School develop further with MIT admissions? How best could hashtag free to students at World Univ and SCH, building on MIT OpenCourseWare in 7 languages for hashtag WUS free degrees, begin to matriculate hashtag WUS students in collaboration, potentially with MIT admissions, since they probably get thousands and tens of thousands of applications and have limited space, accepting probably less than 5% of applicants. And for free to students best STEAM CC4 OCW-centric WUS PhDs, bachelor, law, MI, medicine, IB high school, and similar AAS, also AA and AS degrees and master's degrees. Read more about this in the blog post beginning Pacific Madrone in my blog from May of 2026. Agenda item 7. Glad to have made a report to the Oakland Police Headquarters on 7th Street in Oakland, California, in the San Francisco Bay Area, and regarding also a recent EBMUD police, East Bay Municipal Utilities District police pickup truck, when after a gunshot hit the roof of my vehicle on May 18th, 2026, a Monday morning, just before the WUS News and Question and Answer, around 8 a.m. again, and wondering how that investigation is going. Did they find the shooter? And the implications for my moving into a newly safe, vacant with property deed, 670 Ridgecrest Road, Canyon, California, 94516. And with potentially the interoperation of law enforcement databases, both at the city level, municipal level, such as the Oakland Police Headquarters, with even the US federal level and East Bay Municipal Utilities District police law enforcement levels. When there's a gunshot, I think a whole series of responses by law enforcement develop with newly with IT and AI and ML. Good, I think, to have reported this. Further, read more about this in the blog post beginning Pacific Madrone in scott-mccloud.blogspot.com from May of 2026 blog. Agenda item 8. Restorative yoga class continues to meet on Saturdays at 8 a.m. And as we may live to 150 years of age and well beyond, how best to develop a realistic virtual earth for yoga, asana, and at the qubit level too, and cell and molecule and atom view levels as well. And I've asked this in a variety of ways of Gemini too, and I've gotten some incredible responses. One question that Gemini asked, and I posted it yesterday, June 7th, 2026, is how I would envision connecting the doing yoga asana and a specific cells, biological cells expression in these regards. And I'm wondering whether the new Google Fitbit Air bracelet might begin to be able to detect cellular activity in our bodies as a consequence of movement, for example, of yoga asana, and differentially of different yoga asanas, and begin to generate data for this possible cell expression and add it to our avatar agent electronic health records even from the Google Fitbit Air bracelet. So it's an open class. I post these restorative yoga explorations a day or two before Saturday. Check them out. The most recent one that I'm exploring in this agenda item 8 begins Lotus Nelumbo Nucifera in May of 2026 in my blog. Yoga is wonderful. So further, I asked newly Sundar Pichai, who's now receiving these emails for these restorative yoga explorations, how we might develop as after the great Google I/O 2026, which is available now, world universe yoga asana and at the quantum view, with potentially the Google quantum computer, and also a realistic virtual earth for yoga asana. Sundar, I've read that you do yoga nidra, yogic sleep, and that this seems deeply restorative or regenerative. How might you teach it? And having been born in India too, in Tamil Nadu, in a Google search AI mode, I found one approach and have added it to the PPBS. And how might we further explore developing a hashtag realistic virtual earth for yoga asana with a hashtag realistic virtual earth for aging reversal? More about this in the blog post beginning Lotus Nelumbo Nucifera. Agenda item 9. Dear Kristen Connolly, Contra Costa County Clerk Recorder and former lawyer, Conrad Alt, attorney, Ed Smythe, MD, Grant Fine, attorney, U.S. Senator and former Harvard Law professor Elizabeth Warren. Thanks so much, Kristen Connolly, for the helpful and well-done Contra Costa County Clerk Recorder Elections Department newsletter, 21st edition, on Friday afternoon, May 29th, 2026, and at 3:28 p.m. And regarding your reputation for integrity, especially with the recent gunshot to the roof of my leased 2025 Toyota Sienna minivan, which I'm construing as a 5th recent death threat, on Monday, 5/18/2026 at around 8 a.m. on Skyline Drive near the Chabot Space and Science Center, affiliated with SpaceX even, following upon the 4 previous death threats, one from a Tesla vehicle with an evil laugh even, and the other 3 via Twitter X, which I reported to the Oakland Police Headquarters on 7th Street to Officer B. Pyle on Thursday and Friday, following May 18th, 2026, following this gunshot. I'm continuing to take most every measure or many measures as a friendly peace testimony NTF Quaker I can to prevent the future tense of the first 3 death threats stating we will kill you, especially in seeking U.S. federal investigation further into the Tesla, SpaceX, Twitter X, Noel Kasem ownership, death threats, death cultures, companies, cultures potentially, including reporting this, for example, these death threats to the Security and Exchange Commission's chairman, Paul Stewart Atkins, most recently, and see the PS and the PPS and related Twitter X and LinkedIn related posts in the blog post beginning Chinese Pangolin in my May 30th, 2026, May 30th, 2026 daily blog posts. How are developments going with getting the property deed for 670 Ridgecrest Road, Canyon, California, 94516 in Contra Costa County to me to sign or similar? And thanks to Ed Smythe, MD's precipitation and in seeking to knock back international organized crime out of Canyon 94516 and the San Francisco East Bay 2. All the best abolitionally, staying alive. Thanks, Scott Gordon K. McLeod. Further, agenda item 10. Recently, MIT OpenCourseware sent a recent 6-hour 25th anniversary of MIT OCW celebration videos, maybe as many as 18 hours of video. And I've posted in this agenda item 10, both the other languages it's in, besides English, presently, traditional Chinese, Turkish, Spanish, Portuguese, Persian, Korean, as well as the webpage this is on, as well as a link to, I think, all at least 6 hours, possibly 18 hours on their YouTube channel of the MIT OpenCourseware 25th anniversary celebration. Amazing that they've been going for 25 years now, and glad they are CC4 licensed and that World University and School can build on this resource as we seek to develop 200 world-class universities in all 200 countries and in all 50 US states additionally, and in their main languages, building on MIT OpenCourseware, adapting it, for example, with AI and ML, and seeking to hire the faculty also in these regards for this. So moving to the second wing, the WUS Press wing, the WS Corporation wing, the second of 2 WUS wings, the for-profit general stock company legal entity in the state of California wing. And and which is developing an academic press in 7,159 languages with machine and human translation. And regarding the WS Educational Services stores, and see the tax ID at the bottom of worlduniversityandschool.org/academicpress.html, where this is a for-profit, again, stock company in California, and where we also have a partnering email with Stanford MindPi Cryptocurrency and are seeking to code for speakers of all seeking to code for all 7.9 billion people to facilitate free universal education and to end poverty. Dear SEC Chairman Paul Atkins and US Senator and former Harvard Law Professor Elizabeth Warren, all greetings and thanks again for your great Stanford Law School talk on Wednesday, May 26, 2026, and which I announced here at World University and Schools weekly business meeting just prior to your talk on Twitter X and LinkedIn too, I think. As a follow-up to your recent May 19th, 2026 Twitter X posting, Chairman Paul Stuart Atkins, regarding making IPOs great again, and regarding World University and School building on MIT OCW in 7 languages for free to students online degrees in all 200 countries in their main languages, and especially our second wing, the WS Corporation, which is seeking to go public with an IPO. How might we help to make IPOs great again? Secretary Paul Atkins writes, these 2 rule makings serve as the foundation for my agenda to make IPOs great again, aiming to transform our regulatory framework for public companies, incentivizing more companies to go and stay public, ultimately serves to protect and benefit millions of American investors. So I created a set of Twitter posts in these regards regarding hashtag make IPOs great again. If the SEC could help hashtag WUS Corp at World Univ and SCH do an hashtag IPO. And in terms of IT, AI, and ML, how best could the hashtag WUS Corporation at WUS Press, World University and School worlduniversityandschool.org/academicpress.html in its beginning phase, do an hashtag initial public offering with SEC's approval, thinking, and administrative approval too. So this retweets an SEC approach, Twitter X post. Today, the SEC proposes transformative reforms to help public companies conduct registered offerings and simplify reporting requirements. These reforms are designed to increase efficiency, flexibility, and cost savings for public companies. See the full release and the Twitter X post from the SEC. So further, dear Chairman Atkins at the SEC, greetings and thanks for your edifying talk yesterday at Stanford Law School's Rock Center for Corporate Governments, which I watched online beginning around 4 p.m. Pacific time. And for the conversation after your presentation with Paul Robinson, do I have his name correct? Thanks too for your expressed interest in facilitating initial public offerings. You're talking about cryptocurrencies, and I think 3 federal agencies handling these in the US government, and possibly about SpaceX IPO too. First item, has the SEC facilitated any IPOs for California for-profit general stock company legal entities in this, for example, in the state of California? So further, and greetings from Free to Students Wiki World University and School, building on MIT OpenCourseWare in 7 languages and developing in all 200 countries as world-class online universities, and in all 7,159 living languages as wiki schools for people to people, wiki learning and wiki teaching. And with our second wing, the WS Corporation at the World University and School.org academicpress.html, which became this in 2017. And Academic Press planned in 7,159 living languages with physical digital educational services stores for books, computers, robotics, groceries, hospital technologies. And think a Walmart product line, but for education. And even potentially with a WUS store within a store model inside Walmart stores in all of their 19 out of about 200 countries, where WUS plans to open our WUS educational services stores in all 200 countries, and potentially with Stanford MindPi cryptocurrency free money daily, mindpi.com/SGKMAC, with which Pi Network WUS has some partnering emails. And in WUS seeking to code for all 7.9 billion people on the planet. From here, you at World University, wiki.worlduniversityandschool.org/wiki/you at World University. Each a Wikidata PIN number, and potentially to end poverty too. The WUS Corporation is seeking to list initially on a stock market in the US, and then potentially multi-list on many of or all stock markets in all 200 countries, such that central banks could even buy Pi cryptocurrency from the WS Corporation. And on our World University, first World University and School wing, that we could receive reimbursement from all 200 countries, ministries of education, and all 50 US states, departments of education, per student per year, along the lines of what it costs to study at MIT, Harvard, or Stanford, approximately $65,000 per year for the richest countries. And since WS free online degrees are building upon Creative Commons 4 licensed MIT OCW in 7 languages, which CC4 licensing says anyone can, 1, share MIT OCW freely, 2, adapt it, e.g. with AI and ML, but 3, non-commercially. So nonprofit 501c3 World University and School will be free to students in all 200 countries thanks to the CC4 licensing, which WUS thinks is competitive too. WUS is also in a hashtag Grow with Google WUS program and seeks to develop in a hashtag Realistic Virtual Earth, hashtag for everything, and think possibly new digital virtual real estate even, e.g. in Google Street View with Time Slider, Gmaps, Gearth, TensorFlow AI, Gemini AI, and at the G-Cell, G-Molecule View level, G-Qubit, etc. levels. Item 2, here in the May 25th, 2026 WS Weekly Business Meeting, loosely conducted in the manner of unprogrammed friends, NTF Quakers, I address further some of the above and also announce your talk at Stanford Law School. 3, World University and School as a 501c3, and see the candid profile for this, has a Wells Fargo bank account, again on the nonprofit side, but is only using a WF checking account for the WS Corporation for-profit general stock company legal entity in the state of California. Both wings of WUS have no money to speak of whatsoever and have not become financially operational. 3A, Vivek Hute Singh, with his Cornell bachelor's degree in finance and his Columbia University MBA, could potentially become the CFO or CEO of the WS Corporation, or the CFO of both wings. Item 3B, and World University and School has kept both wings very separate since 2017, when the WUAS Corporation incorporated as a result of a Stanford Law Codex presentation, Roland Vogel, executive director, and who is in the BCC. And thanks to Tom Martin's LawDroid AI software, which created the WS Corporation Articles of Incorporation in the state of California in about 10 minutes and entrepreneurially, and then he helped file them as well. 4, how best to list the WS Corporation on a US stock market initially, and which one? And as WS codes further, both WS wings, IT, AI, and ML, web platforms, and in a Grow with Google WS program. And as WS proceeds also in seeking to partner with Walmart with their great information technologies, and in all 19 of its countries, and in these countries' main languages. This is the main question I'm emailing you about at the SEC, and also as WUS seeks to deploy with the full US federal toolkit. 5, also on a dire note, having just had my vehicle shot at on Monday, May 18th, 2026 on Skyline Drive in Oakland, California, near the Chabot Space and Science Center, and received about 5 related death threats recently from Tesla, SpaceX, via Twitter X, 2, Noel Kasem in reverse, death threats, death cults companies, and regarding possibly international organized crime being in cahoots with even US uniformed armed services, e.g. US space agencies, and in growing a WUS worldwide abolition movement to protect people, and among all 7.9 billion people, I'd be very wary at the SEC, US Federal Security and Exchange Commission, of granting the SpaceX IPO and initial public offering in the event you possibly institutionalize further international organized crime and their latent networks of violence. And also regarding the stock market, tragically, especially, and you mentioned SpaceX IPO and your Stanford Law Rock Center talk. 5A, I've also received death threats from JP Morgan Chase Bank, which, while in asylum in Western Pennsylvania and Massachusetts from the SF Bay Area for about 2.5 years, after calling the local police while living at 670 Ridgecrest Road, Canyon 94516 for about 13 years. In September of 2020, and about 6 months into the SARS-CoV-2 pandemic lockdown, after which I moved into a safe house or unsafe house north of Berkeley in El Cerrito for about 2.5 years as well, and then fled for my life, I would say, regarding the death threats in the San Francisco Bay Area to the Eastern Seaboard, and then returned to the San Francisco Bay Area, departing Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania on December 10th, 2024 for the SF Bay Area, because in my analysis, the SF Bay Area had become safer, but apparently not with the 5 recent death threats, and the gunshot to my vehicle. 5B, sadly, there was also a murderous run-through attempt of me in my first asylum house in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania in March of 2020, or April of 2023, April, I think, by craven psychopath, CMU undergraduate at the time, French, Swiss, or Lebanese soldier, question mark, Frederick Kayat, eventually receiving US federal Social Security checks, I saw, and potentially in cahoots with US uniformed armed services and foreign armed services, uniformed armed services in Switzerland, Lebanon, and regarding international organized crime too. 5C, and I've continued to seek to grow a WUS abolition movement with JP Morgan Chase Bank, with operations in about 100 of 200 countries, and regarding their potential involvement in international organized crime, and in seeking to abolish the wrongful buying and selling of people in the illegal sex, drugs, violence, and car theft, military targeting, Frederick Kayat even, etc., industries internationally, and in an email thread with JP Morgan Chase Bank, now numbering 162 emails since December 11th of 2023. And regarding some of these companies' violence gangs, death squads even, both in the US and in the other 100 countries Chase Bank is in, and in seeking to stay alive from US corporations' international organized crime. With my still being the World University and School and WS, and seeking to in being in a startup phase and seeking to create an IPO, I'm still getting the emails for both wings. And as the clerk of WUS, WUS has explored the possibility of Vivek Kute Singh becoming possibly the CFO of both wings, if WUS could pay him, for example. But it might make much more sense, or the CEO of WS Corporation, but it might make much more sense if he became the CFO of both wings, for example. But how would this work with WS being both a nonprofit 501c3 and a for-profit general stock company in the state of California, with incredible potential synergies between the two wings, planned in all 200 countries as world-class free online universities and in 7,159 languages for speakers of these, and in WUS coding for all 7.9 billion people on the planet. A simple question: if the SEC could help WUS think through all of the above further in terms of developing IT, AI, and machine learning, how best could the WS Corporation, beginning webpage still is worlduniversityandschool.org/academicpress.html, do an IPO? And somehow with the SEC's procedures and thinking and administrative approval. Agenda item 8. World University and School is still growing, and blog post by blog post. And I'm still alive, having sought U.S. federal protection from my mother, my brother, both on the Eastern Seaboard, and myself many, many months ago, and from international organized crime. And even as aging reversal and extreme longevity genetic drug therapies may be emerging, first ones FDA approved by 2050, and the WUS Corporation would like to develop these therapies too, and seek FDA approval and to sell such pharmaceuticals eventually. And with the help of a hashtag realistic virtual earth for aging reversal, a hashtag realistic virtual earth for genetics, hashtags on Twitter X and LinkedIn, and a hashtag realistic virtual earth for everything. And see Peter Norvig's incredible hashtag Toolify AI WUS article, Revolutionizing Education with Machine Learning and AI, World University and School, updated March 2nd, 2024, which is the first mention of a realistic virtual earth that I know of other than by WUAS. And get these potentially extreme longevity genetic drug therapies and aging reversal genetic drug therapies to my mother in her 90s and brother, and for the long run. And as World University and School seeks to develop over the next centuries even, and longer if possible, with IT and AI and ML. Looking forward to learning further how best to develop the WS Corporation and with an IPO, and potentially to list it on a stock exchange in the US. World University and School is growing, thanks. Yogically, as in 8 limbs of yoga, abolition, friendly, NTF, Quaker, and Unitarian greetings. Scott Gordon MacLeod. And I include the people in the BCC that I sent this email to Chairman of the Security and Exchange Commission, Paul Stewart Atkins. So that's the WS News and Question and Answer. On Monday, June 8th, 2026, WS World University and School Weekly Business Meeting using the June 1st, 2026 agenda and news. The June 1st agenda and news begins with the Hangduan Mountains in Sichuan, China. And today's WS News and Question and Answer begins with Great Himalaya National Park, India, on both blogs. I'll post the video recording of today's WUS weekly business meeting as kind of video minutes to today's blog, dated June 8th, Monday, 2026. as well as to the main Twitter X feeds, twitter.com/worlduniv and SCH, twitter.com/WUAS Press, as well as to our main LinkedIn feeds, as well as to, again, both blog posts. Until next week, Monday, June 15th, the agenda is posted in the Great Himalaya National Park, India blog posts in both blogs for next week in 8 days, 7 days. Until then, looking forward to further conversation in a myriad of ways. I continue to get fascinating, in a way, dialogue through digital communication technologies in response, I think, to this weekly business meeting agenda and news, and look forward to addressing some of these questions further next week, Monday, June 15th, with you. I'll post the video recording also to the main current YouTube channel, youtube.com/Scott McLeod World University. My email is president@worlduniversityinschool.org. If you know of students who might be interested in matriculating, possibly even as early as this autumn. Until next time, see you later, more soon. Bye for now.